And StockTwits crew, happy FAFO Friday. I hope everybody has had a great trading week so far. And I'm ready to wrap up the week. Hopefully, get some setups for FAFO Friday. It's been a great week so far. I don't know about you, Michael Nauss, but I've been loving
It's
the downside. I've been loving the opportunities we've been getting with the volatility. I'm having, personally, for day trading, it's been my best month of the year so far. So I'm having a great time. Excited to
yeah.
get into the convo with you today. But how are we feeling about the market?
Well, I think that's key, right? Is the volatility is huge. So it's again one of those stick and move, buy the dip, sell the rip kind of markets, right? Take your money and move on. For me, it's been fun as well. I had some great day trades and a little bit stressful, but I've been dipping my toe into the water, buying a fair amount here, an uncomfortable amount. So betting on a bounce later, either today, which looks like it's happening, or into next week. But yeah, these are the times to, it kind of hurts. You got to hold your nose and buy some things. But these are the times I think that's definitely not easy, but there's a lot of money to be made out there.
Yeah, I think I saw you post something too. You requoted another guy I follow on Twitter as well, and he was talking about how we've had consecutive red days,
Yep.
just over and over on SPY. Whereas last year we didn't. I don't know exactly what he said, but we didn't see like consecutive red days in a certain formation or something like that. Maybe we can bring
Hmm.
up that tweet in a little bit. I'd love to see that again, but I just
Yeah.
thought that was interesting and something to note, right? Like it's a new market and we are not seeing the buyback that we normally see, right? But I love to hear you're taking some opportunities in this market. I can't wait to get into those. But
Yeah, I'll
let's
bring
bring
that
up
up
stock
for,
twits too.
yeah, I'll
We'll
bring
bring up
that up.
stock twits
And
real quick,
yeah, that's
and
where we'll
then
find that tweet. So when we're done looking
yeah,
at some charts, we can go over to my stock twits there and find that as well. So yeah, let's take a look.
yeah, sounds good. Wanted to remind everybody too about the cash tag awards. Let's bring that up on the Stock Twitch channel. Yeah, there
Hmm.
we go. Cash tag awards. I'm gonna be there. Michael Naus, I think, is gonna be there. Shy's gonna be there. He's nominated for, I forget, Investor of the Year or something along those lines. So
Wow.
that's gonna be exciting. But yeah, make sure you guys are checking that out. Gonna be a whole lot of fun. But excited to get into today. SPY is up. Qs are up a bit.
Hmm.
We're definitely getting a nice bounce back so far. I'm not fully convinced quite yet. And just going into the morning, I would like to see lower before going higher personally. But I mean, we're getting a nice bounce back. And generally, I'm not calling it a bear market, but generally in bear markets, you will see shorts covering on Fridays, right?
Yeah.
And so with the downside we've gotten, again, not saying we are 100% in a bear market now, right? But with the downside we've seen, we're definitely in a downtrend from those highs so far, right? And so I wouldn't be surprised to see shorts trying to cover on a Friday like this. So that's kind of playing into me looking for a bounce. But yeah, here we go. There's that tweet we were talking about. You want to dive into that real quick?
Yeah, we can take a quick look at that, and then yeah, I'll get into some my thoughts of the market and everything. But yeah, so the buddy's hostile, right? Larry, I met him a couple times in New York doing some things. Great guy, newer CMT, and yeah, he basically just said there's been no back-to-back green days since the top, and that's super mega rare that there's no back-to-back green days since the top, right? It's something you generally see some relief, right? A couple days that bounce. So I went and I actually did some numbers and some statistics behind it, so we can look at this real quick of just kind of what happens next, right? And a little bit of maybe copium there, so we can just go through some of these things, do a presenter view, make it big for everyone. But yeah, that was the tweet. That was a tweet. Since February 19th was the top, no back-to-back green days. So I said, okay. So I built a little indicator, right? Just in my back testing software, said, oh, let's just do this. This is one of those, they call it shark fin indicators. And I always just reference it to the workplace safety thing where they keep hanging, 1 day without an accident, 2 day without an accident. And then if there's an accident, they have to go down to zero. So this just indicator continued to go up and up and up until there was two back-to-back green days and then went down to zero. And yeah, you can see we had a little bit, earlier here in December where we had a couple days that there was nothing, but this is by far the biggest out there. So went back to all the way 2018 and just highlighted all the days that this happens where we had sell-offs with no back-to-back green days. kind of slightly near the bottom of some action. So, right, 2018, 2019, I know there's going to be not a lot of people that were trading there. That was when we saw this whole song and dance again, right? We had a Trump administration with tariffs and trade wars and all that kind of stuff going on. And, right, ugly market that happened there as well. And we got to 22, right? In COVID, we got to 16, where we are right now. And so you can kind of eyeball these things and say roughly near bottoms. So just doing a little bit of math, and I actually took this one from Grant Hawkridge, who's a great follow as well. And he just said, okay, what happens 5 days later, 10 days later, 1 month later? And 1 month later, about 63% of the time we're up, and we're up pretty significantly. 3 months later, 75% chance we're up. 1 year later, again, 75% chance we're up. Now, 1 year later on the SPY, there's always a 75% chance we're up. So, I don't know how statistical significant that is, but hey, 1 month from now, there's a better than 50-50 chance, a 2 and 3 chance that we're up on the month. So I think that's great. And then I just threw this in again just to make everyone feel a little bit better. So we had a correction, 10% down move. What are the odds that that leads to a bear market? About 25% of the time, right, that we're going to get into a bear market. 75% of the time, we stop somewhere between here and a bear market, which is negative 20% from highs. So again, a little hope there.
Yeah,
Just
odds are
put a
pretty good there when you look at it like that.
Yeah. Yeah, so that's why I've been buying is a lot of these things, right? It's one of those, it's statistics. It means that, 3 in every 10 times we do go into a bear market. In that case, I'll be wrong and I'll lose some money. There's a better chance that we don't go into a bear market. So I will be right and I'll make money. And that's all we're doing here in trading, right? Trying to put a little bit of odds in our favor the best we can and then manage risk. So, a good chance, an okay chance. There's a couple things that I'm seeing line up from a statistical point of view that, I'll take any good news right now. I don't know
We
about
play
you.
probabilities, right? So I mean, you're speaking probabilities to me, so I like it, right? I'm more on the intraday stuff for sure, but I'm picking up what you're putting down for sure. And look at the Russell. Oh my gosh.
Yeah. So this, I wanted to start here just to go through the market to show this is the worst, right? The small caps have just been the worst, and not only the worst right now, but have been the worst for a long time. We never got back above those 2021 lows, 2021 highs for any amount of time on the Russell. So, if you're a small cap investor and you've been seeing, right, people make money in Nvidia and Meta and all these things, and your small caps haven't done well, don't feel too bad because the whole Russell 2000 hasn't done anything. Now, this index will always underperform because it kicks out its best players, right? As soon as SMCI became anything worthwhile, it got kicked out. That's just how it happens. When you get to a bigger company, you're removed. But there used to be this thing back in my day, as I sit here with my gray beard, called a small cap premium, in which you're taking a little bit more risk with small caps. So generally you expect a little bit more return. That's long gone. And again, we can see, although gapping up pretty nicely today and at an area that's kind of interesting, small caps have definitely been completely woodshedded, right? There's just been no relief here at all. Like, look at the weekly candles here, just down, 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 down. So
Yeah.
It is what it is.
100%.
Going through some of these other ones again, I'm sorting everything here by how much we are up in the pre-market just to take a look at it, and it's what you would expect, right? The Qs are up the most, but that's just it's more volatile. When everything's down, the Qs are down the most. When everything's up, the Qs are up the most. And then we actually have even mid caps, which is MDY, doing okay, and then the Dow doing fine as well, right? These other ones, they just haven't printed yet because small caps or micro caps, just there's no liquidity in that ETF. But the Dow has been one of the strongest, and that actually gave way the last couple days. So a lot of damage here, but just again, playing the statistics and zooming out a little bit, we're where we were last September. So we've given up 8-9 months of gains in 12 days, 16 days. So not good, but not the end of the world, right? We do these things all the time, right? We pull back a bit here, we pull back a bit here, we pull back some here. So I don't think we're going to spring back to all-time highs like we have on these other bounces, but it's not irreparable damage. I am still in the camp, and I remember coming on here and other places saying we had back-to-back 20% plus years in the market. Wouldn't shock me if that third year of a bull market we just chill out. We just
Yeah.
hang out for a year, right? Maybe we're down 5% or up 2% or whatever it ends up being. But in this area, I think it's fine, right? It's just we have to rest at some point. You can't have 20% years, 5 years in a row and have the market double and on a compounded basis just triple in a short period of time. That means things have gotten a little bit too crazy.
Yeah, exactly. And I do think even from here, even if you are, let's say, like really bearish on the market here, I think you have to realize like we've made some spots over the past few weeks that I personally think, market needs to rebalance to even go lower, really. You know what I mean? So
Hmm.
I'm all for market wherever the market wants to go. I don't care, higher, lower, fine with me. But even if we do want to go lower, I think, of course, like, does this have to be the short-term bottom where we're at right now? Not necessarily. It would be that'd be nice. This would be a nice spot for sure.
It'd be nice for
But
me. Yeah, I bought a
yeah,
lot.
but at the end of the day, like, we don't know for sure, right? But if it
Yeah.
is, even if I want us to go lower, I would like to see a rebalance from here. Maybe a 50% retracement rebalance of this whole range we made. Something that will give me like, okay, we're actually continuing this move, and this isn't just like a dip that's going to get bought back. But as you can see, and as you've probably felt in the market, this move feels a little bit different than the last few dips we've had
Yeah,
from last year. I mean,
for sure. And I think that chart, that shark fin chart of showing that there hasn't been back-to-back green days in so long, I think that's kind of what everyone needs to see. Just to say, hey, this is unusual, right? Um, so we're gonna pop. Yeah, I want to do. So this is kind of what I'm thinking. I think this is what you were talking about as well. At some point, we're gonna get a bounce, right? We don't know when, we don't know how high, but at some point in the near future, we got to get some sort of kind of relief bounce. And then the question, we're left with two scenarios. Does that bounce just get sold into, and then we roll over? That to me is when I start going, okay, it's probably more likely we're getting into a bear market here because this has just been straight selling. There hasn't been a what happens next, right? It just
is
hasn't
there a
happened.
trend on the
But
monthly, right? That's what I always say. Like,
yeah,
go to the monthly chart. Every time we've seen like a bear market, you've seen actual continuation on a monthly. This is the first
hmm,
red month, right? So
yeah,
like that's again that leads to me that's why I'm not like buying dips super heavily right now. Because if we're gonna start anything, this is just the start, right? So
hmm,
I'm just not ready yet. But that's kind of how I look at it when you're on the lower time frame and it's like, okay, this isn't clear. Let me just go to a monthly, and it's like, okay, well, every time we've actually taken a real dip, we've had consecutive months to the downside, we've had a real trend. And like you say, we just
yeah.
haven't seen that yet, right? We need to see that rebalance and then actually go lower after to
Yeah,
for
so with the
confirmation.
stuff that I bought, right? I'm looking for give me a week. Give me 2 weeks of a bounce. I'm selling them, I'm back out. Then I'll look for another dip to buy back into. So that's kind of scenario one as I see it, right? Is that we bounce up and then there's sellers there and they go, okay, they rip it back down and we start breaking this low in particular and we start breaking new lows. We push higher. Scenario two is that we bounce and then we pull back from that bounce and then there's buyers that come in and we make a higher low. And then again, as someone who very much my whole mission seems to be to push statistics and demystify technical analysis. I want to make sure we stop getting a bad name of being like astronomers, um, astrology, or whichever one we get made fun of for. Uh, and all we're doing is we're saying, is there a place where we bounce and when we come back, people are there's two things. So you bounce and then you start to pull back from that bounce. There's two kind of psychological things that happen. One is people are very, very worried that we're going to make new lows. So they sell into this kind of second leg down, right? That's kind of scenario one. Scenario two is that as we're pulling back after the bounce, people are like, oh, good, it's finally pulling back. I missed the first bounce. I want to buy in here. And that's what makes a higher low. So buyers just come in at a higher price and they say, I missed this first bounce. I'm coming in at a higher price to buy this up. And that to me is what a recovery looks like. Is you make a bounce and then a higher low and then you start to push higher. And then we can start to slowly kind of grind our way back out of this. But we got to see that bounce first. And again, I'm obviously betting that it's going to happen in the next week or two, but I could be wrong. And then I lose a bunch of money. That's just how it happens, right? As we talked about, we're just playing probabilities. We're playing statistics. And in the long run, as long as we manage risk correctly, we'll do okay. As long as we're not, shooting for the hip. So that's kind of what I'm seeing there in the SPY. This bounce it's going to be interesting, but like Charles Dow taught us like 100 years ago, the closing price is the most important price. So where we close today to me is more interesting than anything else. So
A lot of green there.
looking here at the heat, hmm?
A lot of green there.
A lot of green there. That was gonna.
Yeah.
So this is the pre-market heat map. So this is, broken down by sector. I do it for the Russell 3000 because for those who don't know, the Russell 3000, which the ETF doesn't trade very much, but it's IWV. The Russell 3000 essentially represents 98% of the tradable universe. Anything that's not in the Russell 3000 is usually like a penny stock or something that's, just a new company, doesn't make any money, really, really tiny market cap. So looking here at the Russell 3000 and having it broken down by sector gives us a really good view of what's happening here in the pre-market. And I just took out anything that's not, 1% or, it's not 1% up or 1% down. And again, a lot of the things that have been doing very well for us are doing very well for us off the open, right? NVIDIA, Palantir, MicroStrategy, a lot of this technology name are doing great. Retail is doing fantastic, except for this guy, which is CRPT. I don't know what that is, but that's the only one that's kind of down for the day. But yeah, mostly green. And, this is what you want to see if you want the market to rip here, right? Is that people start buying individual stocks under the hood, that value investors start to take cash off the sideline and start kind of plowing it into the market. I'm waiting for the news release that Buffett has decreased his cash pile some and plowed it in the market. I think that might create like a little bit of a frenzy, short-term kind of bottom. And when it comes to the areas that are down, a lot of them make sense, right? So health technology, healthcare, it makes sense that's going to be down on a really ripping market, right? Coca-Cola, right? These names, consumer, non-discretionary, these are flight to safety names. So the fact that these are down, that makes sense. And then some of these communication names with like AT&T and T-Mobile and all these are just bad companies anyway. But, the heat map, just everything's screaming higher, at least for now. So then it's one of those things that we come and I switched over to performance here. So this is yesterday. You can see much, much worse. So we'll come back and check this after the market opens and see if that stuff continues to remain green like it is in the pre-market. Economic calendar I go through. We do have, so again, this is all one thing that TradingView does well is just shows, ranks the importance, I guess. So a lot of these things don't really matter. If it's used like that with the, your cellular signal indicator. Yep. So if you got 1 bar, doesn't really matter. If you got 3 bars, it's going to be market moving. So in 41 minutes from now, so essentially right as the stream ends, there is consumer sentiment. I think that's a big one because that's the kind of final. We saw GDP come down a little bit. We saw inflation come down a little bit. The question is the consumer worried? And I think everyone's looking at this number because, as you guys know, pretty much the entire American economy is just based on consumer. So if that does poorly, then I think that would be more downside. If this comes in well, then it's one of those where I think this trend could kind of continue. Like you mentioned, I kind of wish we were down coming into this number a little bit in a perfect world, right? If we were down coming into this number and it just came in great and just ripped all the shorts from today's faces off and just create this huge rally, I think that would be best case scenario for the market. But we take what we can get. We take any green if we can get it around here in this market right now.
Absolutely. Yeah, I'm kind of again. I'm like higher time frame. I want to see some bouncing today. I want to see a nice recovery again, like Fridays too. With all the downside, I'm thinking like if they're gonna cover, be a nice spot to cover today. But just going into the morning based off what I'm seeing, again, I don't like to play the prediction game. I like to play the reaction game. And if I'm reacting to what the market's doing right now, I got to think we go to these overnight lows first. But not always right? So we'll see what happens. But I got to expect that going into the open.
Yeah, I think that would be the best case scenario as well. If you can get a sell-off into a good number. So the sell-off happens at 10 o'clock. The number comes out great. Again, a lot of push as well, a lot of pop in when it comes to the overall market and a push from there. Oh, I just saw in chat. So he says he goes live at noon today. So Larry, so if you missed that and you want to talk to him about hostile charts, Larry, who asked that question, who, I did all that math for, he's at noon today. So I do those on Mondays. I guess he does them on Fridays. So definitely tune into him. He's a good guy. He's a newer CMT, and he comes at the markets with a little bit of an interesting twist because he's a CPA as well. So he'll know way more about, the health of a company or something than I would, right? Who's just a technician. Bitcoin, I always like to take a look at. Again, I know there's a lot of people who don't really care about crypto and they don't trade crypto, but crypto, again, cover your ears, Bitcoin people. It's just a risk asset. We have determined it's not an inflation hedge because it went down when inflation was the highest. We have determined that it is not a bear market hedge because it just moves. It's correlated with the market pretty perfectly. But sometimes you can get a bit of a key on how the animal spirits are doing based off what crypto is doing, right? I don't think there's a world where the market sells off and crypto, or especially Bitcoin, makes highs because people are not allocating their money into Bitcoin as much as Michael Saylor would want them to, with money they need to spend in order to eat, right? One of the first things they'll sell is Bitcoin. One of the last things they'll sell is the S&P 500. So the fact that we're up today and we're at an interesting area, this is very interesting to me. Again, over the weekend now, on Sunday, I don't even really wait for the futures to open anymore. I just look at Bitcoin and see if it was up during the weekend, then I know the futures are going to open up and vice versa. So yeah, nice little look here on Bitcoin holding very strongly. This is just my crypto section of all the ETF or all the coins that I watch, and they're all pretty much positive. I just see that I have Cardano in there twice. We'll delete that. I mean, everything's doing pretty well. Where's my fart coin? Fart coin's up 5%. Again, I don't think there's a world. I just don't think there's a world where if this thing still exists that we're entering like the worst bear market in history. Like just, wouldn't that be the first thing you would sell if you were worried about feeding your family is your fart coin? But just going into the normal ETFs, do a little rundown of different sectors, what's doing strong, what's doing weak. WGMI is the coin shares. It basically includes all Bitcoin miners that are out there. And it's a good just overall health. Generally, it's going to move with crypto, right? It's going to move one way or another with crypto. Massive level of support here for the miners overall. Again, I think that the crypto mining is just such a hard business that it's not something I'd ever invest in. But again, it's a good overall health. The fact that it's up 4% off the open shows, again, some more animal spirits are coming into the market.
Yeah, absolutely.
Weed bouncing. This has just been.
I remember this. I remember when Andrew put this on my radar way back.
Yeah.
From Spaces.
He's had a couple. He's been buying it on the way down, but I've been chatting with him. He's a really, really good guy, right? The fact that he's done so well in the investing challenge is just wild. And he'll fully admit, he's like, I've gotten it wrong every time, but I've been able to make a couple bucks every time, right? I haven't, he keeps thinking that there's some sort of deregulation coming, some sort of rescheduling coming. He's been wrong every time, but it just shows that if you time these bounces correctly, you can still be wrong on the thesis and do okay. And that's a lot of what he's been doing. He's been trying to buy the dips, and then if it looks like it's going to roll over to a new low, get out very quickly. Take little paper cuts or do okay. But we're gapping up here on MSOS, which again is just a good cannabis ETF. Again, this thing will never become $60 a share again. I apologize. But if you're holding it, that sucks. But if it bounces, from $2 to $4, it's great. As long as you're not someone who's bag holding it now. I do think there's some money to be made here. Pretty obvious trend line you see I've drawn here. I just have an alert set for a close above this trend line. I think at that point, I'm just going to take a shot. Do I have an alert? Oh, it's gone. Once per bar close. There we go. Because, we're gapping up a little bit. If I start to see that it looks like we're going to close above that trend line, I'm going to buy some. You can do MSOX as well if you're real crazy. Oh, is that gone? MSOX. No, it's still there. So that's a leveraged version of the same thing. It's probably what I would buy. Again, just a little bit of a pop. If you get any kind of good news and MSOS doubles off the lows, and this thing will 3 to 4x, but an interesting play there. ARC, again, is not something that I trade, but it's another one of those animal spirits indicators. ARC is one of those where she's buying stuff that doesn't make money now on a hope and a dream that it will make money in the future. If this is moving higher, people are kind of looking forward to the future. If this thing's moving lower, they're having a bad time. So the fact that that's up, we have semiconductors doing okay, we have solar doing okay. So a lot of these that are more speculative names are carrying us higher. We need to see what happens off the open there. So we'll talk a little bit about that in a couple minutes when the market starts to open. So XLK is just technology that's doing okay, and XLY, which is consumer discretionary. This, I believe, this is like 30%. I think someone told me 30% Tesla and Amazon is what makes up the XLY now. So this is going to look a lot like the Tesla chart. So, which is also up a little, gapping up a little bit today.
She's trying. She's trying.
Trying.
Trying to show some life, huh? Poor thing.
Well,
has
I
gotten
talked a little bit
cooked.
about those statistics that I did, right? And I said
Mhm.
if they're right, and there is a 75% chance that we are higher a year from now, and that we don't enter a bear market, which means we stop somewhere between 10 and 20% down. For me, this seems like shopping list time. You know, if you were good enough and responsible enough that you got out of these things when they broke, you're sitting on a lot of cash in your account. I don't know. I think it's shopping list time. So do you have anything? I know you like Tesla. Do you have anything else that you're interested if the market starts to kind of level out, hold on a bit?
To be honest, I've really changed my thoughts on the long-term side of things lately, just given the market. In terms of like SPY, QQQ, those are names I'm holding and
Yeah.
not looking to ever sell, right? Those ETFs.
Yeah.
The only individual name I'm holding now, Michael, is Tesla. That's all I got. So I'm sticking with my Tesla. If I'm wrong there, I'm wrong there. Is what it
Hmm.
is. I've accepted that. No worries. All the rest of my money is in QQQ and Boo, and these dips are nice. I'm not looking to do it quite yet, but the next real cycle to the downside that we have, and I'm confident in that. We're really seeing some fear in the market. That's when I want to really dump this cash because now you're right. Like I'm one of those people that now I just have a ton of cash that I'm sitting on.
Same.
Like my account's more than 50% cash now,
Yeah.
and I'm definitely gonna want to dump that somewhere. But I want to be patient too. Like it would suck, but like if I have to wait a year, if I will do it. You know what I mean?
Hmm.
If I have to wait a long time, that's worth it to me to get, lower prices and, not to say you can't DCA from here to there. Totally fine with that. But if I'm taking, bigger investments, bigger orders, I definitely want to try and time it a bit better. So, waiting for the market to really come in. I know it seems like it's been doing that already and it has, right? But I really want to see some fear in the market for me to want to dump that cash anywhere, right? And so to be honest, since I'm focused more on the intraday stuff lately and just focused more on the short term, I don't really trust myself in this market with picking individual stocks for my long term. So instead, I'm making it easy for myself and I'm going to say, hey, I'm going to put all that focus towards the short term stuff. And when the time's right, just pick up SPY, pick up QQQ, and not really worry about anything. So
Well,
that's
and
my plan right now. That's what I'm doing.
it's funny as a systems guy, right? So again, all the trades that I do, generally speaking, come from systems that I've built and back tested and everything. My systems are doing the same thing as you, where yeah, I'm mostly in cash. Anything that I had from a trend following point of view has gotten stopped out. Anything that I've done from a rotational point of view, which just means buying the strongest stuff over and over again, that's got stopped out. So, thankfully stopped out for winners as the market was ripping and then it came back down. But yeah, I'm sitting in this pile of cash, and just like you, well, I'll talk about some of the trades that I took. But these are, again, I want a week or two bounce, and I'll be selling these names into that bounce, and then being more in cash, and again, doing more day trading stuff. So we'll look a little bit when the market opens, which it's doing right now, and then a little bit after that, what's gonna going on. So let's just take a quick look here at just what the SPY is doing right off the bat. Again, I think that you do this exercise as well, but one thing I love to do right off the open, right? You mark the pre-market highs,
Yep.
you mark the pre-market lows, and you say, okay, those are the two right off the bat areas of when I day trade that I want to play off of. If I'm not a day trader, then it's just areas of interest, right? If we get and hold above the pre-market high, then more likely than not, we're going to have some sort of bullish action today. If we sell all the way back down to the pre-market low here, well, that's worrisome because that's the low of this move, right? Sitting between, 552 to 550, anywhere in that zone, I think is interesting. But this first 2-3 minutes, I generally try to avoid just because things are pretty crazy here. So
Yeah.
yeah, so again, a lot of what I've been doing, and this is an example we can put from yesterday, is this SNX, right? I have no idea what this company does. I bought a little bit yesterday on the close, and the reason for it, without going, giving away all the juicy details of the systems, is that I'm just ranking stocks by how strong they were overall and using a series of indicators to say, okay, they're a little bit oversold, right? It is the idea behind this kind of systematic trading. So what happens is every weekend I run the systems and it goes, okay, these are all the strongest names that are pulling back for these particular systems. And if they hit XYZ price, right, it sends me an alert. I just have it, trading view hooked up to Discord, and it will just send an alert and say, here's a trade to make. And you can see names like this. Here's a Williams R and a Stochastic has just been oversold for a long time. So we got that little push down. And a lot of these are just pulling into prior breakout areas. So I do a little bit of sorting by eye just to say, okay, what's happening here when these things are pulling into these breakout areas. And this SNX, right, pulled right into the area that it's broken out. We've seen this a little bit, right? FWONK. Again, no idea what it is, but broke out of this area at about 82, massive surge higher, and then came right back into that zone, bought a little bit in the last couple days. Just again, a lot of these give me nice little pullbacks on names that again are strong in the short run or strong in the long run. This FLGT, I actually did this for the Monday space as well. So I'm about break even on it, but the real strong push up here, a little pullback into that zone, holding that area as well. So again, just short scalps, right? And how I exit these things is what's called time stops. So what we're trying to do is have a time limit in which we say, if it's not up in 5 days, just get out, because when you're playing bounces, they should happen very, very quickly. You should be right or right out, as I say. So that's some things that I'm watching just for, again, short-term bounce while we're waiting for the market to settle out just a little bit here.
Yeah, 100% agree with that. How's well, NQ just getting a bounce here. ES looking a lot weaker this morning, Michael, now so far at least, making new lows while NQ is actually getting a pretty strong pop. So looking like SPY's probably taking a bigger hit.
Yeah, so we can probably see that by the heat map here. And yeah, a lot of these things. So like finance isn't doing the best. We have technology doing great, which explains why the Qs are popping. Finance, healthcare, and retail seem to be a little bit weaker than those names. So, again, expected. So I've got some things that I'm just watching from kind of a gap point of view on an intraday basis. A lot of these names you'll see come through here as just little trades to make, and basically fading gaps, right? I trade some futures. We were talking about I passed a futures account, so I don't need to put my own money into it, which is always good. And some day trades of some different stocks, and they're little scalps, right? So none of these things I'm looking at for a long period of time, but just some names that have gapped up, right? Is this BEKE, which was just a little bit of an interesting pop there. That's something that we're watching to see if the market's going to fail. Then these are names that could potentially look to short. And then if the market's not going to fail, then gap downs are things that I'm potentially going to look to buy into. So again, little trades to make while we wait for the market to do something, anything.
Yeah. NQ just made new highs in the session here. I haven't made any decisions yet, not doing anything. No clarity for me on taking any entries on the market. So I'm just kicking back, chilling, waiting until the market is screaming at me, telling to get in. We expect not to trade. We expect not to see what we want until it's slapping us in the face.
Right. And it's one of those where I don't know about you, but for me, I really don't like trading the market too much when it's between that kind of pre-market high, pre-market low. It just doesn't.
You're diddling in the middle. Unless I have like strong
Yeah.
conviction for where we're drawing towards, I don't want to be like taking entries right in the middle for the most part, right?
Yeah.
Obviously, I'm never catching bottom or top. I'm just not. I don't care to. I never try to. But you don't need to. You never need to catch bottom or top. I'm hitting like 100-point trades pretty much on every single trade lately with the volatility.
Hmm.
And I'm not catching the bottom. I'm not catching the top of trades. So just goes to show you really don't need it. It's not necessary, but definitely don't want to be stuck in the middle without any conviction especially when we're just chopping back and forth. We've seen that a lot, Michael, in the
Yeah.
structure of the market where we get those big moves early morning and then 8:30, 9 o'clock rolls around Pacific Standard Time, lunchtime, and we just chop for hours until the back half of the day comes and we get a little move back half of the day. That's been the like sequence of the market over and over and over. And
Yeah.
so knowing that, I'm just trying to nail stuff pretty much that first 2 hours, and stay out the rest of the time if I can.
And that's how you want to live life too. I don't know how many traders I've talked to and I mentor, and I'm like, okay, so why are you trying to get into this game? And they're like, oh, well, I want the freedom. And then you end up talking to them, and they're spending their entire day staring at the computer from like 7 in the morning to like 8, 9 at night. I'm like, just get a 9 to 5 at this point. Just go get a job somewhere. Like it
Yeah,
just doesn't make sense.
I agree.
The SPY's creeping up the highs there. A couple trades that I was just looking at here is PD. Again, don't know what these things are. A couple of the Chinese names that are popping up, you can see coming through my alerts here, is XPEV and JD, names that are gapping up today and maybe fading here, right? Just really, really basic kind of scalps. Because, like, as you mentioned, it's not always the environment to do short term scalps on. This, however, seems to be the environment to do short-term scalps in which, names that are, they're gapping up and then they're fading back 50% of that gap and then they rip later in the day. So you can get both sides of that if you've got a system to kind of time those out correctly and do okay just based off of what you're looking at there with with these different names because there's a lot of movement and again, you don't need to be super precise in that movement, but if you can get it at all, it ends up being really, really good as ways to take trades there. Again, as we wait for some resolution here on the SPY, which will help hopefully help some of my trades. But we've gotten through that pre-market high. One thing that you
Yeah,
talked
nice
about that I'm
bounce.
seeing all the time is if that fails, I think those are great trades. You get through the pre-market high and then you bleed back in. You just lean against that high and maybe they sucked in some people.
Yeah, I know the market just opened, and a lot of people are probably seeing this bounce and making some firm decisions already. Just I wouldn't be certain on any direction or any decisions you're making until that 10 o'clock data comes out. So
Right.
just understand, this is a nice move and everything, but it can go bye bye real quick as soon as the top of the hour comes in. So just keep that in mind. Don't get too excited on a certain direction quite yet, and just let the market tell you what it wants to do. Because for me right now, I don't have too much clarity. It's a nice pop, but that data can change everything. So want to wait for that.
Yeah, so that's one thing to look at too, right? So again, 20 minutes and 44 seconds is what we have left until that data. So whatever move is made before then could easily be reversed in the other direction. And then or right, if you're trying to fade a name, it could just pop through there. The other option and something we see a lot is just extremely choppy action while the market participants wait for some sort of a number to resolve itself and just say, yeah, I need something in order to take a trade, and I just need this number out of the way because I think this is going to be a big one. TradingView agrees if you just look at the calendar that it's a 5-star kind of event because it's consumer sentiment. If the consumer's feeling bummed, that it's going to lead a little bit, I think, to more downside. Right? Those are the people that we need. You need out there spending money. Right? A lot of this recession stuff, I think, can be self-fulfilling. Where if everyone, the news is talking about a recession all the time, everyone's looking at recessions all the time. Um, you can have recessions that are kind of made out of thin air. What did they call it last time?
Yeah,
The vibe session.
the vibe
Where
session.
people
I
are
like
just
that. That's perfect.
they're just a little bummed.
Yeah.
They're not happy with what's going on. So
Which I understand, especially because I forget, we're looking at the market every day. We're making trades every day, constantly,
Hmm.
right? So this money, we're constantly seeing the money flow. Whereas the majority of these people are, they have a lot of their savings just sitting there, and that's it. They're not watching the market every day. They're not making more money from the market throughout the intraday, right? Or anything like that. So
Right.
it's definitely a lot harder to look at the market, look at your accounts when you're not active every day and be like, oh, damn, like things are getting really scary here, right? Whereas like me, even somebody, I own a damn good amount of Tesla for myself.
Hmm.
And even during all this, like, you know what I mean? Obviously, yeah, do I want it to be down as much as it is? No, but I could really care less. I'm not putting too much focus on my long term. I sold all the individual names for profit, and we're just riding along. And when the time's right, I'll take profits that we're making right now and roll it right into that account, right? But it's a lot easier to handle some of this downside when you're a little more active throughout the day. So keep that in
Yeah,
mind.
staying, I keep saying staying light on your feet right now is it's just absolutely what you have to do. Like you just have to do it where you're you don't know what's going to happen in this market. It's incredibly volatile. It's very hard to buy something and hold it in a trend for a long period of time. So this is one of those times where you got to pick your shots. You got to come in, treat what you're doing as a sniper. If you like a stock at a certain level, you come in, you wait for that level to get hit, you take your shot, and then if you're a long-term person, you walk away. If you're a short-term person, you look to get out, right? How I mentioned all of the things that I say, hey, I'm buying all these names. I have those time stops on them, right? If they don't get green in a couple days, we just kill them and move on. The idea is that, one of the sayings that I've always loved is that the biggest bounces happen in bear markets. We're not in a bear market, all the technical stuff. We're definitely in a bad market, right? And you get these massive rips in the SPY and in different names. You can have huge pops where you have them. If you go look at the year 2000, you have like all of these during the tech bubble collapse. You had these like 20-30% rallies happening all the time, over and over and over again. Absolutely nonstop. So if you can be light on your feet, you can buy a little bit, and then you get these massive rips, and then you're out a little bit. It ends up being interesting. But so far, it's actually good that we didn't break that high and then immediately flush back down. That's I think what we kind of want to see here on the market if we're going to move higher, which it looks like we may be doing here.
Yeah, things are holding well. I want us to go lower just so I can get some opportunities, because if we just rip from here, I don't know if I'm going to get um, an opportunity, or at least the opportunity that I was looking for. But either way, love to see the market getting this bounce back so far. We'll see how that data comes out in, 17 minutes or so.
Yeah, the only trade that I'm at all considering is was if we failed here, right? If we failed back down at that low, maybe a little shot to get taken, but not something that I'm seeing happen right now. So there's nothing really that's standing out to me. Plus, my trading view charts are slowing down a little bit here, so
They always
you
they
know
always do that right into the market open,
I know I
huh?
hate it,
Everything will be
especially because
working
everything I'm
clean, and
doing
then
is kind of algorithmically driven there. So it's like
yeah,
if the bots, because you can see blue arrows and you see red arrows and all of that, and those are just telling me this is the amount you want to trade, and this is the trade that you want to take. And if I don't have those, I got nothing, right? I'm a systems guy.
yeah, yeah. Really not doing anything here. Last week I was already in a position at this time, but this week is not the same. Um, Again, waiting for that data. If I get a setup to go short, because the market is now trading in an area where I do expect, if we're gonna get a setup short, I expect it to be somewhere in this range from 537.50 to like 680. So
Hmm.
I am watching this area closely. If data comes out, brings me a setup for the short, I want to be short into the overnight lows, which is London low. On NQ, that's 370 from where we're trading right now. It's like 200 points lower. And then Asia low is 334.50, which is just slightly lower than London low there. So that's what I'd be looking for if I do get a short setup. But market's looking strong. And again, in these downside markets, I definitely expect a bounce back on the Friday, kind of shorts covering type of thing. So it might be a little more bullish of a day than I think. And normally we always need to go and meet those overnight levels, but sometimes, there's rare cases where we don't necessarily need to. And this might be a day where we never go trade down there and just rip higher. And in that case, I might not get a trade, and that's totally fine with me. We've done well this week, so.
That's my old day trading mentor. When I used to day trade for a living, always said, "You'll know you make it when you sit there, you stare at your screens the whole time, and you don't hit a button." Right? That's what. Right? It means you've got that FOMO urge out of the way, right?
Yep.
And yeah, and I just wanted to highlight to people these green days that happen, right, from low to high. These bounces are pretty gnarly. You're talking, right, 2% here. You're talking just from low to high. So from here, you're talking another 2%, right? So when these bounces have been happening, and this happens all the time in sell-offs, when they occur, they're pretty gnarly, right? They're you will get pretty extreme bounces in these markets where it's just the way it goes, and it's awesome. It ends up being a lot of fun because you end up getting trades that work really, really well, right? Where you get the buy and the rip off the open, and they don't look back, and they don't give you any kind of reason to get out for, to sell anything, and they don't give the buyers a chance to get in. Those are the rallies that really, really end up being good, is where they don't end up giving you any support. They don't pull back for any.
Well, and that's
They
how you
just
know it's
rip.
shorts covering, right?
Yeah.
Right there is like if there's no clear entry for it, right, and you're sitting back and you never get rebalanced to spots you're looking at, it's just clear when you're in a downtrend like this that if you just get that crazy day where you rip out of nowhere and there's not really an entry, it's clear that hey, this is just the big dogs, buying their stuff back. So love to see it though, because if you're on the shorter time frame, you might be able to find some key points there that'll help you get an entry. You know what I mean? But a lot of the time it can be tough, which is something like today, right? Like for me, I'm looking for those overnight levels before I'm bullish. But if that's the case, like you're talking about, probably won't get those, right? I probably won't be able to
Yeah.
even see that opportunity come today. And no worries, we move on. But that's how
But
it
yeah,
goes.
it's everything is waiting until this number, right? Everything's waiting until we get something that, it's coming out in 11 minutes, and when the number hits, that's going to be the thing that kind of shakes everything up, right? And until then, with a few minutes left, I do have the chat open here. If anyone wants us to look at anything, go right ahead. But it's one of those where I'm hunting for some trades. I'm really not liking that trading view is just super slow here, because some of these came through and they would have been great, but I just kind of missed them. So some of the names that are coming through the system to potentially short are names like JD and XPEV. You can see here as well, just some of these Chinese kind of names that are gapped up a little bit. Again, we're looking to fade those unusual gaps. However, I'm not going to do it before a big number, and I'm not going to do it with the SPY just ripping here. It's just not. It's not conducive to profits to end up doing that. It's just one of those, you kind of have to sit. You got to wait. You got to wait for your shot if you're going to get a shot, and if you don't get a shot, you just take an early Friday, go outside. It's actually well above freezing here today, so I'll take it any day of the week that
Yeah.
I can get that.
And the better you get at that, man. I see it with a lot of traders. Like, see a lot of break even traders a lot of the time, and God, the simple fix for the majority is trading less, right? Like, I mean, even just this week, I've taken 2 trades this week. Traded Tuesday, traded yesterday. No
Yeah.
trades Monday, no trades Wednesday. You don't have to trade every day, right? I'm sitting back, especially in this market with the volatility. I mean, I'm sitting back waiting for A plus setups, which I'm just not gonna get every single morning, right? But in this market, I just don't see the point. And even if you're going lighter, sometimes you hear people say, "Oh, like I'm just gonna take this play light, right? Like I'm not super confident in it. I'm just gonna take it light." I don't see the point in that in this market right now, unless you're just truly okay with that risk. Because isn't it so much better just wait for that A plus setup, eliminate those crappy setups, right? Just cut them out if they're. I mean, because more times than not, they're probably gonna hurt you. Just cut those out and focus on the A plus. That's what I've been doing, and it results in trading less. But I mean, I'll tell you, it's better profits. That's for sure. More consistent.
Well, and I think not only I just marked up there, that's yesterday's high that we're above now. So we broke yesterday's high, which is good. But yeah, not only do I don't think that makes sense now, I don't think that makes sense ever. I'm going to be that guy where, you know, every decision you make, especially in trading, it takes a lot of brain power, right? There's a thing called decision fatigue, right? Where if you're, you're kind of going through day after day, week after week, you get this decision fatigue every time you hit the button, whether it's you're risking $10 or $100 or $1,000. It takes that little bit out of your brain, and then it becomes harder to make good decisions. And yeah, you end up getting in this kind of cycle where if you were right, you weren't going to make any money, right? Because you're taking it small, and if you're wrong, you're not losing really any money, but you're still getting that overall decision fatigue. You're getting all the downsides of making a trade with absolutely no upside. So in that case, just turn off your screen. If you feel like you got to do something, because a lot of people do, that's fine, and journal a little bit, right? Kind of, watch some videos of some other people trading different setups, and think about those setups and how to incorporate those into your trading and things like that. There's a lot of non-trading things that traders can do to take trades, right? There's a lot of things that you can go out there and say, okay, well, I'll take a shot doing X, Y, Z. Or I can do a lot of other things, right? I can watch video, I can
I
watch
mean, you
back my
back
tape.
test Michael Nauss. You can spend an hour back testing, wait for a setup in the real market. There's ways
Yep.
to get around that for sure. I
There's a
agree.
lot of things you can do that are not, doing useless stuff like taking trades small for fun, right? But yeah, so take your shot and kind of move on. Peloton triggering, I really need to. I wonder what's going on here with not liking this. Not liking this slowdown there, guys. I just don't know if it's on my end or on theirs.
On
I'm gonna bet it's
Peloton,
on theirs. Oh, there we go. Yeah,
yeah,
so
trading view is
Peloton
slow. There's Peloton.
gapping up.
I
Yeah,
haven't
trading
seen
views.
this in a while.
A little bit of a gap up there. I mean, really bad overall name, but a little bit of a gap up. And again, it's just coming through. My system's pretty simple for day trading. So I'm looking for gap ups to fail a little bit. I'm doing 1-to-1 trades and then just hoping over the long run that I get, 55, 60% win rate, shooting for 1-to-ones, just scalping, right? Something to do over this first 30 minutes while I'm waiting the market to chill out. But I haven't really done any of that because I haven't really seen any of it. And again, my charts aren't doing what I want them to do, and that's the biggest thing. Another little lesson here, just while we're ranting, right? If your technology's not working, don't force it, right? If you've got a system and it's just not working for you, don't fight that battle. That's not a good battle to fight. Just say, okay, tech problems happen. I'm gonna back off and I'm just gonna leave it and ignore it and then
You'll
come
be happy
back
you did at the end
tomorrow.
of the trading day because every time, I mean, every time I've looked back in my past and I didn't do that, you just look back and say, wow, I wish I just shut the screen and didn't do anything today
Yeah,
because
I
I
didn't.
ended up losing X amount or whatever, and it's just not worth it ever.
Also Fridays, right? The last thing you want to do is take a bunch of big swings and a bunch of risk and get real murdered on Friday,
No, not fun. Not fun at all.
right? And then you're spending your whole weekend going, geez, why'd I do that? Instead of spend your weekend doing fun stuff.
Yep, 100%. Well, I think that's good for us to wrap up unless the
Cool.
chat has anything else. But beautiful, beautiful week so far. This market's looking really good, looking really strong going into this open. And we have this data print coming out in about 5 minutes. So watching out for that. I want to see what happens off of here, whether we get some, some FAFO Friday fuckery, and reverse this to the downside or something, or we'll see. Either way, but everybody trade safe. Have a great rest of your day and a great weekend. Um, the show will be back live bright and early Monday morning with Shy and Katy Perry. So shout out them. I hope all of you have been enjoying the show there. I know I've been keeping an eye on it, and it looks like it's been going really good. So shout out to
Cool.
that. And yeah, cash tag awards. Reminder, guys, make sure you guys are checking that out. We're all gonna be there. So gonna be a great time. We'll see everybody next week. Have a great weekend. Peace out, y'all.
Talk to you soon.
Alrighty.